Hey everyone, welcome to the Guiding You Forward podcast presented by Mountain America. And today we're talking about retirement. And thankfully we have Chad Wattups with us. Hi, Chad.
Hi, happy to be here.
Good. We're happy to have you here. Now, you guys, Chad is the vice president with Mountain America Investment Services. So if you want to know anything about retirement, we want to talk to Chad. So thank you so much for joining us, Chad.
You bet.
We're just going to hop right in. Let's say I'm nearing retirement, which thankfully I don't think I am. I would like to be. I mean, I'd like to retire next year. But let's say I'm over the age of 50 and I have not saved a dime for retirement. Is it too late?
No, it's absolutely not too late. I mean, obviously we want to start as soon as we possibly can.
Okay.
But you have a couple of advantages once you're 50, actually. You can save a little bit more for retirement. Typically, for many of us, 50 and beyond is when we reach our more peak earning year. So we're making a little more money.
Okay.
And most people retire in their mid 60s. Some go earlier, some later, but even if you're over 50, you may still have 10 to 15 years left to save for retirement, and you can save a fair amount during that time.
Okay, awesome. So when we're talking about retirement, and I've heard of this term called income planning, which I don't really know what that means, so maybe you could tell us, what really is the best age to start thinking about this?
Well, in terms of income planning, that's something that you start thinking about as you get near retirement within a matter of years, because what income planning is, it's taking the income sources that you have and turning them into an income stream. So if you think about it, a lump sum that you've saved for retirement, a lump sum doesn't do much for you. A lump sum is only as valuable as what it can produce in income. So income planning is taking, there's a couple of income sources most people have. One is Social Security, which we can talk about.
Okay.
One may be a pension. Some people are still fortunate enough to have a pension. And then the biggest one for most people is the assets you've accumulated over your lifetime of working. How do you turn those into an income stream that can pay the bills, both the necessary bills of each month, the discretionary and non-discretionary expenses that we have? And that's what income planning is making an income stream that will last throughout our retirement.
So how do I make that plan? How do I turn those into an income stream?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's one of the great tricks of retirement planning, right? But it is possible to do it. And the goal is to create an income that will match the expenses that you have, hopefully exceed that, so you can have some fun in retirement as well.
Yeah.
But Social Security is already a fixed income amount that will come each month. Pension is quite often the same if you're fortunate enough to have a pension. One of the challenges is taking your savings. So there's that big shift that occurs when you retire from accumulating assets, which you do throughout all of your working years. And now we're going to start distributing those assets, turning them into an income stream. But working with an advisor, there are a lot of different types of investment products that can produce a fixed guaranteed income stream. And those are the types of products we would look at for somebody who's trying to build an income plan in retirement.
Okay, awesome. So do I just adjust that along the way, working with my investment advisor? Like, how does all of this work? Yeah,
it is a plan that has to be adjusted. Your income needs change. And one thing that we don't think about often is how our expenses might change in retirement too. So your income needs change, your expenses change. For example, you're not going to be commuting to work. You're not going to be putting away money for retirement once you've retired. So some of your expenses change. And so reviewing it regularly is important because the situation around your retirement changes. Just like you would have your oil changed regularly or your furnace checked, you want to check your retirement plan as well to make sure it's still meeting your needs.
Okay.
So meeting annually with an advisor is a good way to do that.
Okay, awesome. And one thing I've heard is when you're planning for retirement, you need to plan as if every day was a Saturday. We think of Saturdays as, we're going to, go to the grocery store and go have fun and do all these cool things. Is that what we need to be thinking about? Because every day is a party in retirement?
It's interesting. Some of the studies I've read that they survey people that have retired and they say, how much did you think you would need when you retired and how much do you actually need? And people think they need 70 to 80%. Then they actually retire and they think, maybe it's 100 or 110%. So every situation is different, but that's why it's really key to sit down and go through what you want your retirement to look like. If you're going to travel a lot, if you're going to have certain expenses that you may not have had before you retired, you've got to plan for those. And everybody's retirement is a little bit different, but going through that process and even test driving your income plan a little bit before you quit your job, try to live on what you think you'll need in retirement and see what it feels like. See if that's really uncomfortable, see if you can make it work. And then you have a good idea if you can make it work in retirement.
Okay, awesome. I love that advice to test drive. So you mentioned Social Security. Tell us a little bit about this. I mean, are we really going to get it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
You see my hesitation there. It's an interesting question because the Social Security fund, they tell you in your statements that it's likely to run out sometime soon. And when it does, they will be able to pay less.
Okay.
The expectation is not that it will not pay at all, but that it will pay less than it has in the past. So I anticipate that there will still be Social Security. If you're 50 plus, probably very similar to what it is today. If you're over 50, probably a little bit less, but there will still be some. And remember how Social Security is calculated. It's based on 35 years of your best 35 years of earnings.
Okay.
And you have to have 40 credits to get it. And then they have a calculation for determining the amount of income that comes to you. And it's a critical part of an income plan for most retirees. You know, the average income payout from Social Security now is about $1,500 a month. So you can see for somebody who's retired and needing that fixed income, that's a pretty significant amount.
Absolutely.
It does cap out. So the maximum payout is about $3,000 a month. And what it'll be for those of us that are a ways away from retirement, we'll have to wait and see. I don't see it going away, but it is an important component towards that income plan.
Okay, awesome. So when can I start taking Social Security?
Yeah, good question. So you can start taking it at 62. That's considered early.
Okay.
And if you take it early, the amount you receive is reduced. If you are born after 1960, your full retirement age is 67. So full retirement age is when you can receive the full payment. So 62, take it early. 67, you get your full retirement payout. And if you delay it beyond your full retirement age, so if you wait until you're 70, let's say, you actually get an increase in the benefit, in the payout. So you can start early, but for many, it's a disadvantage to do so because of the reduced payment.
Okay, interesting. Let's say I need to start taking draws maybe earlier than 70. Mm-hmm. Can I still balance that out with that income stream and that income planning? What do you suggest? Do I just try and wait it out and use my other income streams so I can hit that peak at that age 70?
Yeah, and that's where this process becomes pretty personal.
Okay.
Where you want to sit down with an advisor and say, okay, here's what I have, here's what I need. And if delaying starting taking Social Security makes sense and you have other income sources to use, it might be a good idea to delay because you get more if you wait.
Okay.
But the goal of an income plan is to make sure that you can cover your discretionary expenses, your non-discretionary expenses. Those non-discretionary first, you want to cover those with guaranteed sources.
Yeah.
And keep in mind too that when you retire, all of your assets don't convert into these income producing assets. You still have some time on your side, so you can certainly convert some of them into income producing assets, but some can still be invested and still continue to grow and hopefully produce even greater income in the future.
Okay, awesome. So what I'm gathering, Chad, is that this whole budgeting that everyone's telling me I'm supposed to be doing right now, I have to continue that in retirement?
Unfortunately, that is one of those things that sticks with us, right? And in a lot of ways, it becomes more important in retirement because, if you are, an hourly employee somewhere and you can work a little overtime and make a little extra money, great. You can go get some new cool gadget or something. But when you're retired and you're on a fixed income and you have no ability to affect that income, budgeting becomes much more important. So as much as we dislike budgeting, yes, it's going to stick with us through retirement.
Okay, so let's get used to it now, right?
Get used to it.
Okay, awesome.